Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning. So, we will talk about independent essays and independent and personal writing tasks today. This is in continuation with what we have been doing by way of writing. Now, remember, independent essays are fairly simple, and in today's class we will discuss how to tackle this section of language exams and the various types of prompts that usually appear in independent essay writing tasks. Now, what is a prompt? Prompt is the question. Okay, so independent writing task or personal writing task will, for example, ask you your opinion on an issue. Usually they are very simple questions such as, do you agree or disagree with this? So, this is your prompt. Which do you prefer, this or that, X or Y, A or B? Do you support or oppose this idea? So, you have to take a position and you have to give an independent opinion. Now, this question becomes slightly personal. You are expected to illustrate your opinion accordingly by providing reasons and valid examples. Valid examples in such kinds of tasks could very well be from your own situation. You can sometimes give examples as long as you exemplify or support them appropriately from your own personal experiences and beliefs. Most of the time, since we are talking about competitive and global competitive exams, so it is always better to give examples from the lives of well-known people or well-known incidents. But it is definitely acceptable when you give examples from your own personal experience and beliefs. Now, remember last time we did analyzing an issue or an argument. Now, unlike these tasks, unlike analyzing an issue or analyze an argument task, independent personal writing tasks will be more personal and informal. Remember that, as compared to analyzing a task. The focus is more simple and it is more basic. A sample question is, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Okay, so, for example, parents should determine what courses or what subjects should children take, or do you think always telling the truth is the most important consideration in life, in professional relationship, in personal relationship? So, truth. Yeah. So, do you agree or disagree? Now, you can bring in your personal examples. Now, remember, these tasks are fairly straightforward. So, therefore, it is best to take a stand that you actually believe in. Tell the truth and present your opinions and experiences faithfully in an organized manner. That is what you are expected to do. Of course, you are supposed to use a typical essay structure since your writing skill is evaluated here. So, never make the error of ignoring the basic principles of writing an essay. Always use paragraphing, always use certain kinds of transition markers, however, nevertheless, moreover, but, and, in addition to, and of course, the best structure is the introduction, introduce the topic, give some background to the topic, body, develop the body, present argument to and for, and conclusion, give your own opinion here. So, conclusion should be connected to the topic sentence, the themes, the thematic sentence. Now, Topics are usually based on common sense and they are very basic. Typically, they do not require you to have any prior research or prior preparation. So, you do not have to really get into kind of all kinds of preparation and research to appear for these exams. However, it all comes with practice and reading a lot. Remember, you should always state your central point clearly, never be ambiguous about your point of view. It is important to take a stand and be clear about it. Clarity in thought and expression is what your examiner or what your assessor will look for. It is important to practice timed writing. It is a very difficult task for most of us. Make sure you give yourself a few practice sessions in time writing before giving a test. Remember always to give edits, reread your essay and practice typing speed if your essay needs to be typed rather than handwritten, but most of these exams are handwritten in nature. So, type yourself and see how you are editing yourself. When it is handwritten, examiners get terribly put off by scratching and by and large to use a better expression, untidy work. So, what you learnt at school applies here. Avoid untidy writing and avoid scratching all over the place. Make notes if you have to, rough notes, strike them out, say that these are rough notes and with a request that not for evaluation if you are doing the handwritten type of exam. Now, remember there are certain examples which are very common. I am giving you a list of common examples of independent writing prompts and again very simple, very basic. For example, it is better to be happy in personal relationship than rich. Do you agree or disagree? Many people will of course go for the former. It is better to be happy in personal relationship, but you have to give adequate number of explanation and justify your position. There could be question like working in startups is more fulfilling than working in corporate. So, question is your independent business or working in an office or a corporate setup. What is your opinion? Yeah. How does television affect children's behavior? Or it can also be reframed as many people feel that television or even nowadays video gaming is detrimental to children's progress, mental progress, academic progress. Give your opinion. I would like you to practice some of these questions. See, it is good to understand these questions and discuss them here, but if you could just take them down and start preparing these essays, discuss among your friends and see how you are developing it. Another example is benefits of traveling. For example, travel teaches important life lessons. Do you agree or not? Some questions can again very simple kind of growth of cities, okay, and growth of cities is a good thing or a bad thing for a country's progress. You can give your justification, your examples. Cities lead to progress, industrialization, more international attention, development in culture, etc. But what does it do to the almost negligible attention to the rural areas and small towns? What happens? So, you are supposed to agree, disagree, why not, use reasons and specific examples to explain your answer. Now, there are separate or different categories of writing prompts. They include agree or disagree. So, that is a prompt. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? State your reasons for the same. There could be preference. What is your preference? Which do you prefer? Why do you prefer X over Y? If, hypothetical kind of a question, if you have received a surprise bonus of X amount, if you could buy something, what would you choose? Use reasons to support your choice. Then another question could be, a prompt could be description or explanation. Describe in detail a country that you would like to visit. Describe in detail a job you would like to do. Describe in detail sort of a company you would like to float if you had the choice, if you have a choice. Prompts can also focus on compare and contrast. For example, compare and contrast between two ways of life, two relationships, two kinds of experiences. So, different subjects, for example, arts and science, cities and rural areas, living in cities and rural areas. So, these are the kinds of comparisons and contrasts. So, now let us discuss how to tackle each of these essay types. Remember, every type of essay will have one question, solution and one practice test for you to solve by yourself. You are expected to use the pointers. So, your first question is agree or disagree type. You know that agree disagree types are the most common writing prompts. Often these questions are accompanied by specific instructions, use examples, elaborate, discuss at length. So, these are the instructions given. Make sure you adhere to these guidelines before attempting the question. So, I will give you a question or exercise, and it is do you agree or disagree with the following statement. Now, your question is reading fiction is more enjoyable than watching films. Use specific reasons. Do you agree or disagree, and use specific reasons and examples to explain your position. I will repeat, reading fiction. Fiction includes novels, short stories, is more enjoyable than watching films. Do you agree or disagree? Use specific reasons and examples to explain your position. You will have 30 minutes to write down your essay. You expected length would be 500 words. Remember to adhere to the word limit. Remember, you need to organize your time accordingly depending on the kind of writer you are. If you find it easier to tackle personal writing, take some time to outline your essay. As I just told you, write rough notes somewhere rather than scratching and giving the examiner a work which is not which is substandard and which is not up to the mark. Remember, all these things cost you your scores. You write the essay, reread it, edit it. If you are a slow writer, invest more time in getting some writing before making the edits. Look at the topic carefully. Again, what is the question asking you? Remember what you really want to do. Do you like films? Do you like reading books? This is a personal task, so do not be afraid to tell the truth to the examiner. Even if you think watching movies or films is a better option, then you have to be able to justify your stand. There is lot of benefit that one can derive from watching films. Also, you can learn a lot about other countries, other cultures, other languages. So, why not use that? You know, perhaps it develops your imagination. You are more a visual kind of a person rather than a literary person. So, use or say all these things. So, there is no right or wrong answer, it just depends on your personal opinion. So, I would like you to now start and substantiate your position. For this, you have to take a position. So, what we are supposed to do, what you are expected to do here is prepare an essay outline or an essay map. The question demands you include specific examples and reasons. So, what are the arguments that you will use? What kinds of personal experiences can you use? Do you know any examples? So, there could be an essay map for you, a road map for you. You can, if you are looking at reading or benefits of readings, then you should say reading allows you to create your own world as opposed to films which show you a created universe, an already existing world. Reading is a deeply personal activity, it is done alone, so you do not depend on anyone else for that, it can be done anywhere, anytime. Reading is enjoyable because it can be done without disturbing others. Try to use try to use quotes, citations. Francis Bacon makes wonderful statements about pleasures of reading from an essay called On Reading or Of Reading. So, you may have to just look it up, Francis Bacon, the great English essays. You can start giving or start off giving a personal introduction, I mean in the sense that what you like doing. For example, I have always enjoyed watching films as a child, or I have always enjoyed reading as a child. Films which are based on books, Lord of the Rings or even Harry Potter, do they or do they not fail to live up to the expectations raised by the books? Say that. These are very commonly found films and books. So, if you are a book lover, then you should be able to say that films based on books do not always come up to the position or standards raised by the books. You can always begin with saying how you always enjoy picking up a book to relax as opposed to switching on the TV or going to the film, going to the movie. So, all these are good ways to start your essay. Once you have your material, organize it accordingly. Mentally, you should be very clear about your position. Do not change your mind while writing the actual essay. You should always start with a quote or a personal excerpt, as it will provide a strong hook for the reader. So, remember the word hook, that is a quote or a personal excerpt, and the hook leads in the reader, segues into the argument well. Think of the arguments which could be most powerful according to you and place them towards the end of the essay. Build up your essay. Always save your best for the end. If you have a punchline, either start well, but you should always also have a punchline to end well. So, do not start with a bang and end with a whimper. If you have a punchline and you do not have anything to start with, save the best line for the end. Here is a solved example for you. Let us look at it. Please read the essay. Logan Pearsall Smith once popularly remarked, "Some say life is the thing, but I prefer reading." That is your hook. As someone who has always preferred solitude and privacy, I have always preferred reading fiction and agree with the statement that it is definitely more enjoyable to read than watch movies or television. This is your position. While movies often recreate similar storylines from fiction and provide the comfort of an alternate universe, you are here acknowledging both positions. So, and also look at the use of while. So, it is a contrast marker. So, say while this I agree the pleasures of watching movies, I agree that reading is more enjoyable than watching films, and here the writer goes on to give his justifications, arguments and examples. I would like you to read it on your own. So, what have we done here? We have used a catchy hook like a personal quote or excerpt. We have given clear paragraph structure, taken a position. We have acknowledged positions and acknowledged that movies, both sides can be true, movies can give pleasure, but then we agree and we go on to develop our own stand. We give support for our arguments. There are 3 arguments in all. So, give examples and evidence for all 3 arguments, and then a couple of instances indicating personal motivation to take up the stance, and there has to be a strong or a sound conclusion also. So, I hope you have read the essay and benefited from it. I will give you a second exercise now. Now, this is the preference type. Which do you prefer? Preference questions are quite straightforward and are very personal again, like agree or disagree type. They ask you to choose between X or Y or A or B or this and that, and to indicate your reasons for choosing your preferences. Now, these can be simple questions such as which place would you prefer to visit, or which job would you like to do, or they can be even more complicated. For example, establishing your company, or which kind of company, or working at a company, or starting your own startup. So, they can be a little complicated. Most of the times these are questions you might have asked yourselves. So, you would not need to think for long before answering these. Now, I will give you an exercise, and then let us talk about how to tackle this. A question like, let us take down the question. So, some people like doing work by hand and other prefers using machines. Which do you prefer? Use specific examples and reasons to support your answer. I will repeat, some people like doing work by hand while others prefer using machine. Which do you prefer? Give reasons and specific examples. How do you do that? This is a preference type of question. So, remember, you have to introduce your stance, again like agree disagree, early on in the introduction or the first line itself. For this, your first task is to take a clear and unchanging stance. In this case, say yes or no to whatever you believe in. You believe in work by hand. Yes, I believe in work, I prefer working by hand, and that is how you should develop. Follow this up with a short introduction that gives some shape to your body arguments. In the introduction, you should give your overview to the arguments you will be largely grappling with within the essay. You have to identify your arguments. For example, if you prefer working by machines, then you should say speed and accuracy that comes with using machines. Better results. Machines are known for providing more accurate, better results, and of course, they are more convenient, and you can multitask while the machine is on. You can do a 100 different things as well. So, convenience is also one major benefit of machines. Now, remember that you have to identify arguments. Remember to acknowledge both sides, convenience of hand or benefits of working by hands, and also machines, and then you have to take your position. Now, advantages of using or working by hand as well as machines, you need to identify only a basic few of these, either one or the other. So, let us say working by hand ensures that we can handle everything on our own with greatest degree of precision. You can also say the joys and personal pleasure of working by hand overshadows the convenience machines offer, which is quite true. Try to enrich your essay by thinking of personal excerpts that fall within the topic. Instances where you prefer machines over working by hand, say working in the kitchen, or instances where you prefer working by hand, say making something for your partner or friend, etc. So, think of a good conclusion that encapsulates the essence of your essay. Here is a solution, solved exercise, please look at it. I will read it out for you, the first couple of lines and the stance. When given a choice between working by hand and opting for machines, I readily opt for working with machines. That is your stance, right. Over the years, with the greatest proliferation of modern technology, machines have advanced to an unbelievable extent. For the same reasons, they have acquired considerable proficiency and are well suited to adapt to a large variety of tasks. This is the introduction. You take a position and then introduce, give some background how over the years machines have almost displaced any other form of working. And now the author, the writer goes on to acknowledge first both positions. Like for example, he says preferred to use machines over working by hand due to their speed and accuracy, while working manually definitely provides us with the luxury of determining everything as we would like to, we would like machines tackle tasks. Now remember, while is the key word. It gives you an indication that or the signal that which direction or which stance you are taking. Let us go on. Now, you are acknowledging both positions, yeah, but you still say I personally do not enjoy spending long hours on a single task and therefore prefer machines over working by hand. So, this is your supporting argument 1, and then go on to look at arguments 2 and 3, and at the end how he says, however, for matters of efficiency, time saving and convenience, I am and will continue to remain inordinately prejudiced towards the miracle of the modern invention, that is the machine. So, that is a very assertive kind of a stance, and this is how you should. So, your position should be very clear. Why are we doing all these solved exercises? Many a time, and I have come across these things in my own personal capacity as an assessor, that people do not give conclusions well. It is very important to give a strong conclusion. A reader should not be looking in the dark for what you stand for. Now, we will do the third type of essay writing, that is hypothetical or if kind. Now, if kind or are imaginary type questions, ask yourself to put in a certain position, in a hypothetical position or situation. These questions are the most enjoyable ones to answer, because all of us would like to come out of our real lives and imagine ourselves to be something else. If only I were the Prime Minister of the country or a day, what would happen? Now, they are fun, right? Even to imagine a situation like this, if only I were famous for a day, if only I were the principal of my college for a day, what would you do? You get to display your vivid imagination. So, again no right or wrong answers here. Do not hesitate to express your views, but maintain the seriousness which is expected in an exam situation. Do not be frivolous about it. Think creatively and write in an organized manner. Examiner will be sure to note your imagination while assessing you. I will give you an example, like holidays honor people or events. This is an example. If you could create a new holiday, what person or event would you like to honor, and how would you want people to celebrate it? I will repeat it. Holidays honor people or events. If you could create a new holiday, what person or event would you like to honor, and how would you want people to celebrate it? Use specific reasons and details to support your answer. How would you prepare? Now, if an imaginary or hypothetical questions are different from the rest of the prompts, so you have more autonomy, more freedom to exercise your imagination. However, since the topic is never explicitly expressed, what holiday, yeah, you have to be very careful about developing your response. Do not try to think of 2 or 3 examples, stick to one. Do not waste too much time thinking about what to write. Filter from the first few ideas that come, filter ideas that come to your mind, and see how you are going to develop everything in 30 minutes. Start by deciding who you want to write about, what you want to write about. Do you want to use the name of any popular figure? Okay, some great superstar, some great let's say politician. So, you have to decide how to go about it. Decide the topic, what is the personal motivation for topic, and then general reason for this kind of holiday. So, write down the general guidelines and stages in your introduction, followed by which you should be able to expand the subtopics in the body of your essay. Think of the reasons why you are personally motivated to write about this. So, you can use the name of the person, and you can always say why I regard this person as a role model, or why this event has become a landmark in my life, or in the lives of many other people. Why you empathize with this kind of situation or this person. Think of the general reasons why this holiday should be chosen. If it is a person, then his or her contribution to society, as an artist, as a humanitarian, as a politician, as a sports person, and if this person has brought honor to our country. Follow this up by answering the second part of the question, how will you celebrate this holiday? By honoring the importance of his contribution. If the person is still alive, then by inviting that person, and how to set aside a day to honor people who are in that field. So, if for example, if you are looking at a major artist, a painter, an actor, then would you like to set a day aside to honor students who are more inclined towards that art? And then finally, wrap your arguments with a comprehensive conclusion. Since this is an imaginary kind of an exercise, I am not going to give you any solution or a solved example. We will move on to the next type of task. So, essay that demand description and explanation. This variety, the description or explanation type, writing prompts will test how well you can describe a certain place, event or person. So, this will require you to identify certain questions about the given topic and answer them through your description. You have to include now what is the event, who is involved, where did it take place, when did it take place, why did that happen, how did that happen. So, description and explanation. Note that you may not have to use all these questions. So, the 5 questions, the 5 W's and how, what, who, where, when, why and how. Note that you may not have to use all these questions for a given prompt, but you would do well if you include some or others in this kind of exercise. Remember, descriptive writing will usually target some of these questions, some of the 5 W's and how. Since these are different from personal writing prompts, they will involve a lot of factual description or explanation over imaginary or personal kinds of essays. These essays can be about anything and are often open ended, giving you some creativity to think about or some leeway to think about what you want to write. For example, if you want to write the kind of startup you would want to float, or the kind of country you would like to visit, explain why you think that's the right thing to do, what it is, why do you think it's the right thing to do, how are things done here. So, if it is an open ended exercise, the advantage is that you can choose a large repository of personal experience also and address the question accordingly. A sample question or exercise could be, describe a custom from your country that you would like people from other countries to adopt. Here you are asked to describe, explain your choice using specific reasons and examples. Remember how to go about this kind of an essay. In the introduction, you should not waste time, choose what you will be describing for the rest of the essay. Do not just spend time thinking about what to write for longer than a minute. For example, if you want people of other countries to adapt an Indian custom of greeting, then you should be able to think of it immediately. More than personal observation, think of descriptive or factual topics you have sufficient knowledge of. You have to address the what segment of the essay, write down these descriptions, and for example, again I will say that if you want to write about Indian custom of greeting, namaste, then what does it mean, how it can be used as salutation and valediction, how the gesture involves pressing both hands and bowing, how it is used across all parts of the country, and how it is spoken as namaskaram or namaskar also. After thinking of a good number of descriptive points, write down why these can be universally adopted. This satisfies the second question of why. Remember how this custom brings people together. It is it is greatly humble in nature, it is extremely polite, and it promotes or emanates positive energy, promotes peace, harmony. Think of the examples, okay, how it can be used to bring together people, how it has been used in popular culture, films, those are the good examples. Ensure that you have a good comprehensive conclusion with enough supporting argument. So, what have we been seeing so far? Various kinds of essay types. Look at what we have been doing so far: agree, disagree, prefer or the preference kind, if type, if only I could give a holiday, if only I were I were famous for a day, description type, and then look at this category, compare and contrast. Now, comparison contrast exercises or type of questions, they are similar to descriptive types, but will involve describing two cases. So, you will have to compare and contrast between two things, let us say events or societies or people or places. Now, in these tasks, make sure to use words that signify comparisons such as unlike, as opposed to, while, but, and so on. Do not describe the two events in isolation, but form an active link between them. You see, the two events or two positions should be linked together. Now, we will be giving you an exercise. This we have to solve here. This is my question to you. A friend of yours has received some money and plans to use all of it either to go on vacation or to buy a car. He asks you for advice. Compare your friend's two choices and explain which one you think your friend should choose. Use specific reasons and details to support your choice. So, going on a vacation or to buy a car. For example, if your description is of first situation, then give supporting arguments. Remember how to start, let us talk about it. Here you are supposed to write down your thought process as you compare two situations or people or events. This needs to be reflected in your essay. So, you do not need to take a stance. You can talk about description of situation A, that is buying a car, then description of situation 2, going on a vacation. Acknowledge both these events and situations and then conclude what advice. So, in conclusion you need to take a strong position. Remember, in your description of first situation, give supporting arguments. Friend has wanted to buy a car for quite a while. It will make his life or her life much easier, and of course convenience factor, you get the freedom and safety that is associated with having your personal vehicle, means of transport. In your description of the second situation, give supporting arguments. Friend's job may involve traveling and how he may benefit more. Long term benefits would be more if he goes on this particular vacation. Friend is also an avid traveler. He needs vacation due to his very hectic or her very hectic working hours. Probably needs external motivation to convince him of spending on a vacation. Acknowledge both situations, compare and contrast between the points, and then take a stance after carefully organizing your arguments and comparing them. Conclude appropriately. Let us look at this solved example. So, how do you begin? Given the choice between a vacation and a car, both very tempting luxuries, I will comparatively examine the benefits and disadvantages of, so pros and cons of both these options before advising my friend. So, remember, no stance taken here. Since my friend now owns a scooter and has been wanting to buy a car, so that is first description and argument in support of situation 1. But look at the second paragraph. However, my friend is also an avid traveler and enjoys spending time outside the city and work. So, second situation and arguments in support, and how does they conclude? The benefits of a car are more attractive and have better long term prospects. So, acknowledging and then taking a stance despite the pragmatic benefit the car offers. I am sure a vacation will be one that is cherished, etc. Therefore, I will convince my friend to use the money for a vacation trip. So, this is the stance that he takes and the conclusion drawn. So, let us move on now to consider a list of phrases and words that you can use in your essays. Have a look at this slide. You have been looking at these words throughout today's class and maybe in classes to come also. So, look at the various keywords. For agree and disagree, for preference. My stance is, I am of the opinion that, I agree or disagree with, I believe that, I concur with, I concede that, I sympathize with this position. I would prefer, given the options, I would choose, I am disposed towards, my preference is, I am partial towards, I would favor. Let us look at this slide for essays, keywords on if and imaginary and descriptive and compare contrast types. In the event that, in the hypothetical situation, if it were such, if it should happen, should it be, had it been, I speculate that, as opposed to, on the other hand, whereas, while. So, look at the variety of signal markers, words that denote a signal, given the choice, while, in opposition to, similarly. So, this is the way you have to make transition. Now, let us look at some sample writing prompts. Let me give you example. Agree or disagree. So, business should hire employees for their entire lives. Do you agree or disagree? Use specific reasons and examples to support your answer. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Universities should give the same amount of money to their students' sports activities as they give to their university libraries. Use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion. Okay. So, say all these things, agree, disagree. So, these are the sample writing prompts. I am very sure that if you look up the net and you look up, type in agree, disagree types, preference type, if and imaginary types, descriptive types, compare, contrast types, you will find plenty of exercises and examples. So, thank you very much. We will continue with tips on more writing in our subsequent classes.